Everybody here okay? Or you guys are, I know there's a little background noise. Everyone's got it covered? Scott. First, let me just, before we jump into the questions, let me just say I appreciate all of you being here today to cover this event. And appreciate your role in helping get the message out to the people in North Dakota. We're excited to have this message of optimism and gratitude, but also combined with a serious need for change. So thank you for being here. And then I also want to open with a challenge to all of you too, on just a personal level. I know when you're covering political work, there's a real desire to try to drive towards labels. I would just encourage everybody to understand that I'm a complex individual. Most labels don't apply. I didn't use any of those traditional labels today in my presentation, and so I just challenge all of you to dig deep and try to really see if you can write about me without using a shortcut that maybe doesn't represent the full complexity of my life and the work that I'm doing and how my approach to solving problems. So that's just a challenge for all of us to try to take our game up. Okay.
You had mentioned serious change right off the start here. What serious change do we need?
Well, I think the obvious one is my discussion about technology. Person might look at a chart of oil prices and go, hey, they were up, they're down, they'll come back again. Part of the reason oil prices are down is because of technology itself. I mean, we were creating a surplus of oil in a world where there wasn't a single prediction 10 years ago prior to horizontal drilling and the advances in fracking technology. There wasn't a single prediction. Everyone was like, hey, we're going to run out of oil. There was not an expert in the world that said we're going to have a global glut. And there is so much energy available to us on the world today. We got a surplus, and that's why prices are down. And I would expect that prices may stay down for a long time because of our success that we have. And now we've got, all of these wells that have been drilled but have been capped. The minute the prices start to go up, those come uncapped. So we're in a position where we have to learn to live with low oil prices. And for a state that's been dependent on oil tax revenues, that's going to require some change. But the flip side of that is, from a value-added standpoint, when we've got we're really close. We're sitting on top of one of the great energy fields in the world. For us to be able to do value-added energy production, whether it's in fertilizer or other areas where we can add value to those products here. When we can bring manufacturing to North Dakota, because as a country, this should be a manufacturing revival for the United States when we were entering into a long-term period of low energy. And if at the federal level, if we can change the tax repatriation and get $1 trillion of corporate taxes, back to the U.S., we could have an explosion of manufacturing built in the U.S. And this could be a great time. But low energy prices create problems for states that are dependent, but it's great for the economy. It's great for consumers. Gas prices are low. There's two sides to that. But that's one of the areas, again, where when we've grown government faster than we've grown our own economy in the state, then we're going to have to have a reset correction to do that.
Given that nobody wants to be the next Alan Olson with the allotment process, excuse me.
I was going to say no one wants to be Alan Olson because he was an attorney general that became governor. Or was it I wasn't sure what the reference was there.
Who had to do a lot of budget cutting.
Yes. Yeah, well, like I said in my remarks, it's not about, we're required to have a balanced budget. So we get a balanced budget, and some people think that that's, hey, we're celebrating we have a balanced budget. It's not about having a balanced budget. It's about having a smart budget, and it's about learning to do more with less. Because that's every business I've ever been in, because of competition and prices going down. That's where I've spent my life in technology. It's not about we raise price every year. It's about prices go down, we compete against free, and you got to figure out how to do more with less, become more efficient. And those are the skill sets that I have, and I believe that they have to be applied to every aspect of government, whether it's health and human services, or whether it's how long you stand in line to get a license at the DMV. I mean, all those things have an opportunity for automation and improvement, process improvement, and that's not a criticism. It's just an opportunity.
So you said you expected to lose at the convention. What do you hope to gain by going there?
Well, I think that the convention represents the core of Republican Party faithful. It represents the people that really are dedicated. Again, their time, their talents, their treasure. I mean, these are they're contributors. They contribute time. They volunteer. They work, and I think it would be disrespectful for me not to go and be with them. But I also understand that when I walk into that place and you've got competitors that are already both elected officials. And in the case of one of them where they've been an elected official for 40 years, that's like me, and even though I've been to these conventions in the past, I was there, supporting, Steve Sidness in 1988. I was there with, Ed Schaefer in 92 and with Hovind and with Dalrymple. I mean, I've been to the conventions, but I'm not there as an elected official. I'm not there as a party official. I'm not there. So I've said this is a little bit like me walking into a high school where, where somebody else is a 1,500 person high school where someone else has gone there for 40 years. And then I show up in the middle of the semester and go, hey, I'm running for class president. I mean, what are the odds on that? Because it's the outcome in some ways is really wired. And so if
Do you want to win it, Doug? I mean,
if I could go there and win, it'd be fantastic. But I just want to make sure I'm setting expectations that if I go there and get, one vote, it's more than I had yesterday.
it's usually kind of a game delegate to delegate where you're campaigning and calling them and going to see them and doing dinners. I mean, you're going to do all that.
Well, I certainly want to talk to them because these people are engaged and they've got they've got opinions and they've got commitments and they've got whatever. But a lot of them have already committed their votes. I mean, a lot of them have already decided who they're going to vote for before I even entered the race. And so, and again, that's this group of 1,500 people. Maybe there'll be 2,000 this year, but it's a small group. But we know there's tens of thousands of Republicans. Sometimes 100,000 that vote in a primary that can't. Whether it's personal commitments, family commitments, kids, jobs, work. Don't have the money to stay in a hotel room in Fargo for 3 days. That's the group I also want to talk to. Primaries were invented. I mean, one of the first ones in the country was in Minnesota in 1908 because they basically said, hey, the party, the party functions, it has a role, but if it constricts democracy where only a few people are picking the candidates, then you want to have as many people involved in the democratic process as possible. And I actually think this is the healthiest thing that could happen for the Republican Party, and I believe that in my heart. I believe if there is a contested primary race, it's going to create, visibility, it's going to create press, it's going to create dialogue, and we've been kind of a one-party system in North Dakota for a few years, and I think if we were a one-party system, let's at least have a dialogue within the party that's in control about the direction and about where we have to go, and I think that's healthy for everyone.
Doug, you talked about avoiding labels and typical descriptions. Did you think about running as an independent or as another party in this race at all?
Well, absolutely I did early on. I've been a Republican my whole life, but I think that, when I was talking to people in North Dakota from the time of Jack's decision last fall, I've had a lot of discussion, met with a lot of people, and there's a lot of people out there that aren't comfortable with either party. And I think it's a growing number, and part of it is what their frustration on the national level, because even if you're living in North Dakota, if you pick up the paper and watch the news, you're sort of watching the national political scene, and there's a lot of people that don't feel an affiliation. They feel that the far ends of each party are too far away from their views, and then they may feel I agree with this party on this thing, but this party on that thing, but there's no party for me because I don't agree with all the things of each party. And so I think there's a growing dissatisfaction with the polarization and the parallelization of the two parties. And I think there's a big body of people in the middle that are independents. But it turns out that in North Dakota, when I analyzed all the paths, and I want to be an elected leader, the most likely path, they're all long shots for an outsider like me, but the most likely path is to try to, win it in the next 6 months as a Republican.
So to be clear, you would run, if you have to, in the primary as a Republican candidate?
Yes. Yeah, not as independent. So Republican at the convention, Republican at the primary, and then we'll see where we're at.
Will you be laying out a specific vision of, this is what I want to do to promote technology, change agriculture as a gubernatorial candidate? Will you lay out some detailed positions?
Thank you. Over the course of the campaign, I'll become more and more specific on my policy stuff. But the challenge right now, again, let's all be practical here, is that, less than half of the people in the state know who I am, and I'm competing at least as one candidate who's got, higher name recognition than our current governor, and he's got, and he's one of the most popular politicians in the history of the state. So, what I have to do between now and the convention is just get people to know me. And I was long on, hey, here's who I am, because there's so much misperception out there. I think, there's sort of a general knowledge of what I've done, but I think there are some people that don't even understand. They hear software, they don't even understand that involves, that software is like manufacturing. You got to build the product, you got to market it, you got to build distribution channels, you do all that. And I think there's not even appreciation of what I've been doing in North Dakota the last 35 years. So I got to start with the basics. This is who I am, it's where I came from. This is, what I've been doing. This is why it matters. And this is why it matters to the state. And this is why my experience is relevant. So I'm basically, like I said, if this campaign is a job interview, I got to start with the basics and have people just get to know who I am.
You said in answer to Pat's question that, you go to the convention, you see where you're at that point. If you lost at the convention, are you saying you're done? Or are you saying you'd pursue possibly running on a different party?
No, I'm saying if I lost the convention, I'm going to be running in the primary as a Republican.
No, I'm sorry, at the primary. What, you losing the primary, are you done?
I haven't said anything about that. I'm just running from now till June 14th as a Republican.
I know one of the talk shows today was suggesting that some Democrats should take a long, hard look at you in the primary. What's your thought on that?
And how do you mean take a look at?
Well, vote for you instead of vote Democrat in the primary.
Well, I can't, when people walk into the booth, they get to do what they want to do. This is part of what democracy is. And so I can't, I can't make a judgment around that, but, I'm a guy over my lifetime, I've, voted for different candidates across different parties. And again, the primary in North Dakota is about selecting the candidate for the fall. As it turns out, in the last 24 years, whoever's won the convention won the primary, who won the primary became the governor of North Dakota. So I would say to people who normally don't vote in the primary, even Republicans, a lot of Republicans don't vote in the primary, but if you're a Republican or you're an independent and you're interested in deciding who your next governor is, you need to vote in this primary, because that's when this race is going to get decided. I don't see any scenario today where a Democratic candidate would beat whoever wins the Republican primary in June. If you guys see that, let me know. But I don't see that. And so, I feel like that the race for governor is between now and June 14th.
Campaign spending, will you throw a lot of your money into it, or will you rely on your contributions?
Well, I'm certainly going to do a broad-based contribution plan, because I think having people engaged. But I'm also a guy where I've spent my whole life with outside shareholders. I don't want people, writing me big checks if I'm not a good investment. I would feel bad if I raised money from a bunch of people and then didn't deliver. How do I look in the eye? Hey, write me a check, and then I'm not successful. That wouldn't feel good. So I think that from my standpoint, but I'm also a businessman. I'm interested in ROI. I want to make sure that if I'm spending some of my own money on this campaign, that I'm getting a return on it. And for me, part of that return is if we can, change and have an active, vigorous, healthy dialogue about the future of North Dakota. I would feel like that's a good investment. I've done a lot of philanthropy. I've given money away to a lot of different causes. I think, this isn't philanthropy, but this is a cause I believe in, and so I don't have a problem backing myself. But North Dakota is a small state. There is lots of avenues today with low-cost social media, and this doesn't have to be an expensive thing. It just has to be an engaging thing. But hey, if somebody wants to donate, I'd love to get a check, and they can donate at dougburgum.com.
How do you make your message of technology in the future resonate throughout North Dakota? It's not a traditional message that you're passing out here today in a political campaign.
No, it's a tough message, and I'm sure if somebody had did a bunch of testing, does this resonate with voters? They'd probably come back and go, hey, that doesn't resonate with voters at all, because they don't, people don't get it. But I have a great belief in the people in North Dakota, and I know that the guy that's sitting in that tractor that's got more technology in the tractor than they even know what to do with, and I know the people that are going to get a doctor's visit that are frustrated with the experience that they're having in that hospital or that clinic, and I know the people that interface with government are frustrated. So I think I have to bring it down to what is their daily experience, because all of us interact with technology every day and have frustrations, and I think I can connect with people on that level. But it's sort of off the radar on a policy level. It's not. There isn't a bill in the front of the state legislature today that says let's become the first gigabit state, and there isn't bills in front of the legislature that say how do we build healthier cities. People aren't thinking about. We have 17,000 jobs open in the state, and we need to look at what do we have to do to get those people here, and you have to build better, smarter cities. And today we've got things, even like at the North Dakota State Bank, there's a revolving loan fund, $150 million revolving loan fund for infrastructure. Fantastic, right? You can only use it for new infrastructure. Can't use it for repairing old infrastructure, which is what we would need to have smarter, healthy, more efficient cities. Because, I tell anybody that they believe in small government, which I believe in small government, but you can't believe in small government unless you believe in a small footprint for each city. If you have a big footprint, you're going to have big government. There's just no no doubt about it. I mean, you have to look any further than Fargo. I mean, Fargo's got 1,900 lane miles to snowplow. That means when we have a snowstorm this week, the equivalent of someone getting in a snowplow and driving from here to Bangor, Maine, and when they get there, they can plow 30 miles of Bangor streets too. I mean, that's what and then you have to buy the truck, have the driver. I mean, every time it snows, that's what we do when we build these things. We're like building houses that are too big to live in, and we're going to find out when the revenue starts coming, we're going to find out that we overbuilt some infrastructure. It's a hard lesson, but we'll learn it, and then we have to be smarter going forward.
A label coming out of the Stenjum camp for himself is that he is the only candidate in the race that is fiscally conservative and socially conservative, meaning that you and Becker are obviously fiscally conservative but socially liberal. And again, I hear what you said when we started about labels. There is a strong values voter in North Dakota, right?
Yep.
Pro-life, pro-traditional marriage. What do you say to them?
Well, I think for me, I think that some of these social issues nationally have been at the root of some of the divisiveness. They've been at the root of the paralyzation, some of the polarization, and it is. And it goes right back to the roots of our country. I mean, we got a collision between freedom of religion, individual liberty, and even the progression of rights of women, play into this thing, so in rights of individual liberty. So, of course, there's going to be a vigorous debate. Of course, there's going to be a collision. And we can spend all day, talking about that kind of stuff. And meanwhile, we talk. People can pass bills in the legislature, put it on the initiated measures, watch them go down 60-40, go pass another one. I mean, there's a divide between what the way the population is voting and the amount of debate we put into this stuff. And I look at the data and I go, okay, that's all interesting, all that division and paralyzation. We got 30,000 kids and 34,000 kids last year in North Dakota that are on free and reduced lunch. Okay, that's something I can probably do something about. I'm not going to be able to affect some decision that's, going to be driven by the Supreme Court. I mean, I don't have the power to change out Supreme Court justices, but there are plenty of things I can work on here in North Dakota. And I want to focus, instead of some theoretical division and theoretical camp around some social issue, I'd rather talk about real social issues, which is, I mean, if you're on free or reduced lunch, that means you're, below a poverty line in the eyes of the federal government. And we have all this prosperity and all this whatever. We got a bunch of kids that we need to do something about. So that would be one way where I want to pivot away from the things that are intractable and go to work on the things where I can make a difference.
So what would you do for those kids?
What do you do for those kids? Well, I think it all comes back at the beginning. It's private sector. I mean, you can't, this is not. I mean, we've proven over and over the best way to move people out of poverty is to have a vigorous private sector, but it also ties back to education, because if you can take someone who's, earning a minimum wage job, get their skills improved. I'm not talking go to college for 4 years and be stuck with a bunch of debt, but you get their skills improved, where instead of I'm working at this, I can be, I can work as an assistant in a dental office. I know all of a sudden I'm getting paid $25 an hour instead of $10 an hour. You can start moving people up the chain.
But a big data point there is obviously, parents that are married. So what's your thoughts on, talk about stable, cities and whatnot, stabilizing the family as well?
Well, I think, today family groups are important, and there's data that shows that, the stronger the family group, the better the results are with the kids. And so you have to look at the context of all that in terms of how we do that. But we have to be a government for all the people, not just to be a government for people that are, happily married to two-parent families, because 50% of Americans and 50% of North Dakotans end up divorced. And I don't have a solution to that one.
Color choice for the flag?
Color choice for the flag. It is sky blue, and the sky is very blue in the, for the future of North Dakota. And whether it's summer or winter, whether it's green for summer or winter, the sky is still blue. We love the blue sky in North Dakota. So that's the thoughts behind that.
I thought it might be blue jeans or something.
Yeah, it could be blue jeans works too. I mean, you guys, you can read into it. It's like art. You can read into it your own interest.
For the white and the green, though?
What's that?
No significance for the white and the green, though?
No, I like the green, and I thought about green and yellow, being the Bison cheerleader that I was, but I, went with this.
I think that's
Said-
green.
And Okay, we got to head out. So anyway, let me start where I started, which is thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks for all the work you do to try to raise the dialogue in North Dakota around these tough and important issues. And I'll look forward to spending time with you individually over the next 6 months. But thanks a lot for being here. Okay.
Are you taking a PowerPoint on the road? Just curious, I mean, when you go around with your meet and greets, or?
Well, this was made special for today, and I think the length of it's probably a little too long for some of the meet and greets, but there's, I have to figure out a way to efficiently help people get to know who I am.
Congratulations.
All right,
Take
thanks,
care.
Scott.
Good to see you.